Addiction is often misunderstood. Most people think it's just about drugs, alcohol, or bad habits. But addiction goes much deeper than that. It's not just about the thing a person is using, it's about why they're using it. At its core, addiction is a signal. It's the mind and body trying to cope with something painful, something missing. It's often a quiet cry for relief, for love, for escape, or for control in a life that feels overwhelming. Behind every addiction, there's usually a story, sometimes filled with hurt, loneliness, or fear. Sometimes the person doesn't even know what they're really running from. They just know that the substance or behavior gives them a break from the pain, even if it's only for a moment. What's happening in the brain and body during addiction is complex, but it's not random. It's the brain trying to survive, trying to find balance. Engage believed to exist in addiction. Sadly, it chooses shortcuts that often lead to deeper suffering over time. To truly understand addiction, we need to look at it from all angles, not just medical or moral. We need to explore the science of the brain, the psychology of emotions and trauma, the personal growth that can lead to healing, how different personality types are affected, what ancient philosophies like Stoicism can teach us, and even how symbolic tools like astrology can help us reflect on our inner world. Addiction is not just a bad habit, it's a message, a mirror, a challenge, but also a doorway to deep healing, if we're willing to listen and learn. Let's explore this journey through 6 powerful lenses, so we can understand not just what addiction is, but how we can begin to rise above it. 1. Neuroscience: how addiction changes the brain. Addiction is not just a bad habit. It's something that changes how your brain works. Every time we do something that feels good, like eating tasty food, getting a compliment, or laughing with a friend, our brain releases a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine makes us feel pleasure and teaches the brain to remember that activity, so we'll want to do it again. This system is called the reward system, and it's part of how we learn what's important for survival. But addictive things like drugs, alcohol, gambling, or even social media release way more dopamine than normal activities. It's like the brain gets hit with a pleasure explosion. This rush mainly affects a part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens, sometimes called the brain's pleasure center. Over time, if someone keeps chasing that high, the brain begins to change. It stops finding joy in regular things like relationships, hobbies, or healthy food because it's now used to the big dopamine spikes. It starts craving that intense pleasure, and simple joys feel dull in comparison. This creates a strong urge or craving to go back to the addictive behavior. Another part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex is responsible for smart decisions, like thinking ahead, managing emotions, and resisting temptation. But with addiction, this part of the brain becomes weaker. That's why someone can know their addiction is hurting them, but still feel powerless to stop. Their ability to think clearly and control impulses has been reduced. There's also the amygdala, a part of the brain that handles emotions and fear. When someone feels stressed, anxious, or sad, the amygdala remembers that the addictive behavior helped them feel better before. So the brain pushes them toward it again, even if it causes harm in the long run. So addiction is not just about willpower. It's not because someone is weak. It's because the brain has been rewired to depend on that behavior to feel okay. This rewiring can be made worse by past trauma, loneliness, or growing up without emotional support. The brain remembers what brought relief, even if it also brings pain. But the brain can change. Just as it was shaped by addiction, it can also be reshaped through healing, patience, and the right support. 2. Psychology: the emotional hunger beneath the habit. Addiction isn't just about pleasure, it's often about pain. Most people who struggle with addiction are trying to cope with something deep inside, something they may not even fully understand. Psychologist Dr. Gabor Mate asks an important question. Don't ask, why the addiction? Ask, why the pain? In other words, the addiction is not the real problem, it's a response to a deeper wound. Many people who become addicted are trying to escape from emotional pain, such as childhood trauma, rejection, loneliness, or feelings of worthlessness. They may have grown up in homes where love felt unsafe or inconsistent. As a result, they never learned healthy ways to deal with strong emotions like sadness, fear, or anger. Addiction becomes a way to numb the pain, feel in control, or get a break from heavy emotions. It gives quick relief, but that relief doesn't last. And after it fades, it usually leaves a person feeling worse. So they use the addictive behavior again and again. This creates a painful loop that's hard to break. There are also mental habits called cognitive distortions that make this worse. For example, all or nothing thinking. You tell yourself, I already messed up today, so I might as well keep going. Or personalizing, where you convince yourself, there's something wrong with me, and I'll never change. These thoughts are lies that the mind starts to believe, and they keep the cycle going. Psychologically, addiction is like a survival tool that worked once, but then got out of control. It was the brain's way of saying, this is the only way I know how to feel okay. And sometimes, people begin to see addiction as part of who they are. That's where the ego comes in. The ego is the part of our mind that wants to protect us from pain, even if it means lying to us. It might say things like, this is just the way I am, or I'm broken, so why try? This kind of thinking feels safe in the moment, but it traps us in a false identity. True healing starts when we gently ask, what am I really feeling right now? What is this addiction helping me avoid? Can I find safer, healthier ways to care for myself? Addiction is not who you are, it's something that happened to you. And with the right tools, support, and self-understanding, it can be healed. Three, personal growth, reclaiming your power. Healing from addiction doesn't begin with being perfect. It begins with being honest with yourself. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, what happened to me? Or even, what do I truly need right now? These questions shift your focus from shame to understanding. They help you see addiction not as a personal failure, but as a signal that something inside you is hurting or missing, and you're trying to cope the best way you know how. One powerful way to grow is by paying attention to your patterns. Try keeping a journal where you write down what triggers your cravings, like stress, boredom, or certain people. Also note how you feel during and after the behavior. This builds self-awareness and helps you spot what you're really looking for, whether it's comfort, attention, peace, or distraction. Once you know what you're seeking, try to create healthier habits that meet the same need. For example, if you're into addiction when you're overwhelmed, maybe deep breathing, a walk in nature, or calling a trusted friend could bring calm instead. These are called replacement rituals. They don't have to be perfect, they just need to be kind to your mind and body. It also helps to take small steps. Change doesn't have to happen all at once. Even something as simple as delaying your urge by 5 minutes can make a big difference. That delay gives your brain a moment to choose differently. Over time, those moments grow longer, and your self-control grows stronger. Another useful tool is to have a conversation with the part of you that wants the addictive behavior. Instead of fighting it, try listening. Ask, what are you trying to protect me from? Or, what do you really need? This helps you treat yourself with compassion instead of judgment. And when you feel stuck, ask gentle questions like, what am I really feeling right now? What pain am I trying to escape? What would the healthiest version of me do at this moment? Remember, recovery is not a straight path. Some days will be harder than others. But every time you pause, reflect, or make a healthier choice, even a small one, you are building a stronger, wiser version of yourself. And that's something to be proud of. Four, personality traits. How different people struggle in different ways. Not everyone experiences addiction in the same way. A big reason for this is personality. Your personality affects how you deal with stress, what you seek out in life, and how you try to feel better when you're in pain. Some people are naturally more emotional, some are more adventurous, while others are more thoughtful or quiet. These traits can influence both what kind of addiction someone falls into and why they fall into it in the first place. For example, People who are very emotionally sensitive, what psychologists call high in neuroticism, may turn to addiction to calm their anxiety or sadness. The emotional ups and downs can feel overwhelming, so they look for something to help them feel better quickly. On the other hand, people who are low in conscientiousness, meaning they struggle with discipline or planning, might act more on impulse. They may have a harder time saying no in the moment, even if they know the long-term consequences. Some people are naturally curious and open-minded, what psychologists call high openness. These individuals might be drawn to mind-altering experiences like drugs, psychedelics, or spiritual highs, not necessarily to escape, but to explore. That curiosity can be a strength, but it can also lead to risky behaviors if not guided with care. Whether someone is introverted or extroverted can also shape how addiction shows up. Introverts may escape into their inner world, like getting lost in video games, books, or TV, to avoid dealing with stressful situations. Extroverts, on the other hand, might seek stimulation through social settings, partying, or risky behavior, which can also turn into addictive patterns. If we look at personality through the MBTI system, types like INFPs or INFJs, who are deeply feeling and imaginative, may use substances or fantasy to cope with emotional pain or escape reality. Meanwhile, more action-focused types like ESTPs or ESFPs might chase excitement and immediate pleasure, sometimes without thinking about the consequences. The important thing to remember is that no personality type is bad or broken, but your traits do affect your habits and your healing. The more you understand yourself, the better you can build a recovery plan that actually fits you. Trying to copy someone else's path may not work if it doesn't match how you're wired. Self-knowledge is not just power, it's a tool for lasting change. Stoicism, ancient tools for inner strength. Stoicism is a philosophy from ancient Greece and Rome that teaches us how to deal with hard times with calm and courage. The Stoics believe that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond. This idea is very helpful when dealing with addiction, because addiction often comes from reacting automatically to pain, stress, or emotions. Stoicism helps us slow down and make better choices instead of just reacting. One Stoic teacher, Epictetus, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This means true freedom doesn't come from doing whatever we want. It comes from having self-control. When we can stay calm and steady even when life is hard, we're truly strong. Another Stoic, Marcus Aurelius, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This reminds us that we don't need to control everything around us. What matters most is how we manage our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Stoicism teaches that we should create space between the feeling and the action. For example, if you feel the urge to fall back into an addiction, stop and ask yourself, is this in my control? Can I choose a better response right now? Even a short pause, just a few seconds, can be powerful. You can also use a simple journaling practice inspired by the Stoics. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what made me feel upset or triggered today? How did I react? Could I have responded with more wisdom or patience? What kind of person do I want to become? What value, like courage, discipline, or honesty, can I grow in? Stoicism doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means learning how to carry them with strength and clarity. Every time you make a better choice, even a small one, you're training your mind. You're proving to yourself that you are not your urges, you are something stronger. Each small step in self-control is a step toward real freedom. 6. Symbolic astrology, understanding ourselves through the stars. Astrology doesn't cause addiction, and it's not meant to predict your future. Instead, think of astrology as a symbolic mirror, a tool that helps you reflect on your emotions, patterns, and inner struggles. It gives language to parts of ourselves that we might not fully understand yet. In the context of addiction, astrology can help us notice what emotional needs we might be trying to meet in unhealthy ways, and how we might start to heal. For example, someone with a Pisces sun or moon may feel deeply connected to dreams, emotions, or spiritual experiences. They often want to escape the heaviness of life and float away into something more beautiful. This can sometimes lead to addictions involving fantasy, drugs, or emotional overdependence. But healing for Pisces often begins with grounding through art, music, nature, or spiritual practices that connect them with the real world in a meaningful way. People with strong Scorpio placements, like Scorpio moon or Scorpio rising, often feel emotions very deeply, but don't always show it. They may struggle with trust or vulnerability, and sometimes use addiction to keep control or hide their pain. For Scorpio, healing comes from facing the emotions they've buried, being honest about what they feel, and letting themselves be seen without fear. A person with a Cancer moon may crave emotional safety and comfort. When they feel unloved, lonely, or forgotten, they might turn to food, relationships, or old memories to feel secure. Their path to healing is learning how to nurture themselves, to become their own source of comfort and care, like a loving inner parent. If someone has Mars in Gemini or Sagittarius, they might struggle with restlessness and the constant desire for excitement, movement, or stimulation. This can lead to overworking, overthinking, or thrill-seeking behaviors like gambling or risky adventures. For them, healing often means slowing down, finding peace in stillness, and learning to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. A strong Saturn influence, such as Saturn on the Sun, Moon, or rising sign, can make someone feel emotionally blocked or overly self-controlled. These people may hide their feelings behind walls of responsibility or perfectionism. While this can create inner pressure, it also means they have the discipline and structure needed to break free from addiction when they decide to change. Astrology reminds us that we are made up of different energies, like fire action, water emotion, air thought, and earth stability. When these elements become unbalanced, we may feel lost or overwhelmed. But by understanding our natural tendencies, we can find better ways to meet our needs without turning to harmful habits. Look at your birth chart not as a label, but as a map of your inner world. It can't tell you who you have to be, but it can help you understand who you already are and who you have the power to become. Seven, integration from darkness to healing. Addiction is not proof that you're weak. It's actually a sign that something inside you is hurting and needs attention. It shows that there's a part of you longing for comfort, peace, or healing. When you look at addiction with curiosity instead of shame, you begin to understand that it's not the problem itself. It's a message that says, I need help, I need care, I need something to change. By looking at addiction through different lenses, we start to see the full picture. Neuroscience helps us understand how the brain gets stuck in harmful patterns. Psychology shows us the emotional wounds and beliefs that often sit beneath the surface. Through personal growth, we learn small, powerful ways to build new habits and become stronger. Personality traits help us see why each person's struggle is unique. Stoic philosophy reminds us that we can choose how we respond to life. And symbolic astrology gives us a gentle mirror to reflect on the deeper parts of ourselves. Healing isn't just about stopping a behavior, it's about changing how you see yourself. It's about moving from running away from your pain to respecting your journey, from feeling broken to understanding that you're growing, from being disconnected from yourself to becoming whole again. Always remember, you are not your addiction. You are the awareness behind it. You are the part that notices, reflects, chooses, and grows. The fact that you're here, listening to this, already means you're waking up to something powerful inside you. So take a deep breath, be kind to yourself, and take just one small conscious step toward the person you're meant to be. If you found this content helpful or inspiring, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Here, we explore powerful topics at the crossroads of neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, and personal growth, all designed to help you better understand yourself and become the strongest version of who you are. Your growth is worth it, and you're not alone on this journey.